When people talk about Mexico, it's almost automatic to think of Cancun in the state of Quintana Roo or Acapulco in the state of Guerrero. But what few people know is that there is a place that goes far beyond perfect landscapes and vacation destinations. Today, Bello Mundo takes you into the heart of this unknown territory, where secrets are not only hidden, but literally buried, in extravagant cemeteries worthy of mansions, and in clandestine tunnels full of legends. Want to know more? Then come with us to unravel the mysteries and stories that lie beneath the underground and underworld of Sinaloa, one of Mexico's most enigmatic states. Number 1. Location and geographical data. Sinaloa occupies a strategic place on the map of Mexico. In the northwest of the country, it is bathed by the waters of the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Cortez, which already guarantees a connection to important trade routes and an extensive stretch of coastline. But there's more. Bordering Sonora to the north, Durango and Chihuahua to the east, and Nayarit to the south, the state is also cut by the imposing Sierra Madre Occidental, which not only beautifies the landscape, but also creates fertile valleys, perfect for agriculture. This is why Sinaloa is known as the breadbasket of Mexico. Covering some 58,000 square kilometers, the state is divided into 18 municipalities. Culiacan is the capital, but it's Mazatlán that steals the show in terms of tourism, with its paradisiacal beaches and the famous Tres Islas, which are true biodiversity sanctuaries. And speaking of which, Sinaloa doesn't mess around when it comes to nature. Mangroves, unspoiled beaches, and a fauna that stands out for its diversity. It's the kind of place that seems made for those who love exploring the wild side of the world. But behind all this beauty and the title of Mexico's breadbasket, there is a side that few people like to talk about, but that everyone has heard of. We're talking about one of the best-known territories in the world for its stories of cartels, clandestine routes, and figures as powerful as they are feared. And we're going to show and tell you these dark stories in a moment. Because before diving into this part, it's worth knowing a little more about the curiosities and beauties of this place. Number 2. El Calón, the Pyramid. If we're going to start with incredible places and curious monuments, let's talk about the Pyramid of El Calón. Usually, when you hear pyramid, you think of the giant ones in Egypt or the Mayan constructions. But in Sinaloa, there is a totally different gem, located right in the middle of Mexico's largest estuary, the Ensenada del Pabellón. An estuary, for those who don't know, is nothing more than a region where the river meets the sea, creating a rich and unique environment with a mixture of fresh and salt water. These areas are true nurseries for marine life, home to incredible biodiversity and fundamental to ecological balance. And it was in this setting that ancient peoples built this incredible monument. And what a monument! 30 meters high and with a base measuring 100 by 80 meters, the pyramid was built between 750 and 1200 after Christ, during the period known as the Aztlan Horizon. And why is this pyramid so different? Instead of giant stones or advanced tools, around 275 million shells were used in the construction. Yes, millions of seashells stacked in layers, alternating with barren earth. Why shells? For many pre-Hispanic cultures, they symbolized the link with the sea, fertility, and rituals of abundance. No wonder scholars believe that El Calón functioned as a ceremonial center where religious festivities or community gatherings took place. So, as well as a veritable pile of shells, the pyramid carries all the symbolic weight of a people who knew how to celebrate, and a lot their connection with the sea. Number 3. Remains of pre-Hispanic cultures in Mazatlán. Moving on, our next destination is Mazatlán, a coastal city that enchants visitors with its long promenade, wonderful beaches, and vibrant climate. Known as the Pearl of the Pacific, Mazatlán offers attractions for all tastes, from the historic center, full of colonial mansions, to the famous Malecón, where the sunset is a daily spectacle. But if you think that this place is all about the sea, seafood, and nightlife, get ready. In 2022, excavations in paving works revealed traces of a culture linked to the Aztlan people, dating from 900 to 1200 after Christ. The discovery was so surprising that archaeologists were thrilled. Among the finds were high-quality ceramics and the remains of human burials. But the biggest highlight was a ritual kite, a ceremonial pipe used in religious or symbolic practices. What's more, the burial also attracted attention because it was under a shell floor, something quite different from the usual pattern in the region, where burials are most often found in ollas, which are large clay pots. Why the shells again? It seems that the sea really was a vital part of these people's identity, not just for fishing and food, but also for spirituality. Number 4. Mammoth Capital. Do you remember Manny, the grumpiest mammoth from the Ice Age films? Well, it seems that a large part of his family lived on Mexican soil. In Sinaloa, specifically in the municipality of Mocorito, experts have found evidence that several herds of mammoths roamed the area. No wonder Mocorito is called the capital of the mammoth. According to paleontologists, bones and even almost complete skeletons of mammoths have been found in at least 8 different sites. These huge, hairy animals would have lived in swamps and wetlands, feeding on the local vegetation. When they died, they were preserved thanks to the mud and sediment that covered their bodies. In general, you only find a tooth or a tusk here and there, but finding entire skeletons is a rarity worldwide. Some of these pieces are in regional museums, others are awaiting detailed studies. The question remains, if Sinaloa's subsoil has already revealed mammoths, could there still be fossils of other giant animals there? Number 5. Gold, silver, and much more. Sinaloa doesn't live by archaeological secrets alone. Under the ground, there are also precious metals that make the eyes of many companies shine: gold, silver, lead, copper, and zinc. The state is home to several mining districts, such as Cosala, Rosario, Schwa, and Concordia, where large companies, including Canadian, American, and Chinese ones, are located. To give you an idea, in 2017, 112 kilos of gold and more than 34 tons of silver were extracted, not to mention tons of other metals. That's no small feat. But there's that old story. Mining generates jobs and income, but it can also affect the environment and local communities. In many mountainous regions, the wealth that comes out of the ground is not necessarily reflected in better living conditions for the locals. Oh, and if you're interested in history or how everything works in the mines, there are tours and tourist routes through some of these locations where you can see a bit of the state's mining legacy. So, as well as archaeological treasures, Sinaloa also literally has a fortune under its feet. Number 6. Tunnel under the fort and urban legends. Next stop, El Fuerte, a historic town that carries colonial charm and an air of mystery in its very name. It was once one of the most important centers in the region, even giving its name to the state of Sinaloa at certain times in the past. Today, the place attracts tourists with its picturesque style and quiet streets, But for many, the real attraction lies beneath these centuries-old buildings. There is much talk of underground tunnels, linking mansions, churches, and perhaps even a secret fortress. According to stories circulating among the locals, the Spanish would have dug these passages to evade rebels or to transport gold and silver without running the risk of being attacked. It is even said that large merchant families and former rulers used these corridors as an escape route in the event of a revolt, or simply to keep their treasures away from prying eyes. One of the most famous legends tells how, in the dead of night, heavily armed caravans would descend underground, carrying chests full of coins and jewels, all lit only by torches. Some people claim that the echo of footsteps and the clinking of chains can be heard in the basements of old buildings, as if the ghosts of the guards were still watching over them. Truth or folklore? Nobody knows for sure. Official archaeology, however, has never proven the existence of an extensive tunnel system. There are isolated reports of short passages or trapdoors connecting two points, which could indicate a real but restricted use. While the evidence doesn't come to light, the subject continues to fuel the imagination of tourists and locals alike. After all, who wouldn't want to explore secret passages where gold, honors, and perhaps secrets of the former colonial elite were once hidden? And now that you've seen the beauties, legends, and riches that lie beneath the soil of Sinaloa, are you ready to dive into the shadows? The next stop will take you out of the underground and into the underworld. Number 7. Cradle of modern drug trafficking. When people talk about drug trafficking in Mexico, one name always comes up: Sinaloa. And no wonder. The state, located between the Pacific Ocean and the imposing Sierra Madre, is the epicenter of drug trafficking in the country. If Cali and Medellin define drug trafficking in Colombia, Sinaloa plays the same role in Mexico, but with its own brand of power and influence. Its proximity to the U.S. border, just 2 days away by car, has given Sinaloa a strategic advantage. But it's not just location that has made the state so important in this scenario. Sinaloa is home to figures who have become almost legends, such as Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, Rafael Caro Quintero, and Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo. These names are not just synonymous with power and violence. They have shaped the way drug trafficking operates globally. For them, Culiacán, the state capital, is more than a city. It's a stronghold of luxury, control, and for some, even idolatry. Number 8. How Sinaloa became the center of drug trafficking. Sinaloa wasn't always synonymous with drug trafficking. For much of the 20th century, the state was known as the breadbasket of Mexico, with fertile fields producing corn, soybeans, and sesame seeds. But those same fields were also home to a secret: poppy and marijuana plantations, which quickly became valuable products on the American market. During the Second World War, the United States needed morphine for its troops, and Sinaloa became one of the main suppliers. This temporary alliance opened the door for local traffickers to dominate the market. In the 1980s, they went further. By forming partnerships with the Colombian cartels, the Sinaloans began distributing cocaine around the world, and when the Colombians lost strength, Sinaloa took the lead, creating an empire that functioned like a multinational. This success, however, came at a high price. Entire communities were transformed, with bosses' mansions springing up in the middle of humble neighborhoods. Number 9. Narco Cultura. In the capital of Sinaloa, drug trafficking isn't just a business, it's part of the city's soul. With over 600,000 inhabitants, Culiacán is a place of extremes. On the one hand, luxurious mansions and eye-catching cars. On the other, a much more raw reality, but equally impacted by this culture that goes beyond drug trafficking. And believe me, even at the moment of death, the difference between the ordinary citizen and the drug lord is stark. Culiacan's cemetery is more like an upscale neighborhood. The tombs, miniature mansions, there's everything. Marble, air conditioning, bulletproof doors, and even crosses that glow in the dark. Some of these true works of art cost more than $290,000 and can have up to 3 floors. At night, the place lights up like a ghost town, with automatic lights and security systems worthy of a fortress. The walls of these mausoleums are decorated with photos and paintings of the dead, usually young people in their 20s and 30s. But curiously, many do not reveal their names. It's as if the ostentation speaks for itself. And it doesn't stop there. This so-called narco culture has also invaded music, with the famous narco corridos, which extol the lives of drug lords. It's no surprise that some regions have already banned these songs and are even trying to ban TV series on the subject, fearing the impact on children. Now for the most surreal part, the connection with religion. Many devotees worship Saint Death, a skull venerated as the protector of the most vulnerable, including drug dealers. There's also Jesus Malverde, considered to be a kind of holy Robin Hood. According to legend, he stole from the rich to help the poor until he was hanged in 1909, right there in Culiacan. Today, a chapel dedicated to Malverde attracts worshippers from all over. People kneel in front of his bust, leaving notes of pesos, dollars, euros, and even thank you notes. Narco culture isn't just a reflection of drug trafficking. It's a separate universe where luxury, spirituality, and violence mix in a unique and, at the same time, disturbing way. Number 10. The cartel's global impact. The Sinaloa cartel has managed to turn drug trafficking into a global and extremely sophisticated operation. They haven't limited themselves to old trafficking practices. They've invented underground tunnels to cross borders, created homemade submarines, and opened air routes to take their products to places far beyond Mexico. It's not just the logistics that are impressive. The cartel controls everything, from the plantations hidden in the mountains of Sinaloa to the arrival of the merchandise in the largest cities in America and Europe. It's like a criminal multinational, but with a devastating impact on society. And it is in Sinaloa that this power leaves its deepest marks. The state has endured decades of violence caused by territorial disputes, faction fights, and the constant presence of military forces trying, unsuccessfully, to contain drug trafficking. In the 70s, Operation Condor, supported by the United States, tried to put an end to drug crops in the region. And for a while, it worked. But the problem only changed address. The illicit activities spread to other places, further increasing the influence of the drug trade. Today, Culiacan is the epicenter of this culture. Shootings, murders, and confrontations are part of everyday life. Meanwhile, armored SUVs, snakeskin boots, and flashy jewelry show off the power of young people linked to the cartel. It's a reality where violence isn't just a side effect. It blends into the identity of the region, shaping lives and imposing a presence that seems impossible to ignore. Now tell us, did you know about the Mexican state of Sinaloa? What struck you most about this culture full of contrasts? Let us know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss out on any content and new adventures in our Bello Mundo. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. See you there.